Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Spiritual Spotlight series. Today, I am joined by Nicki Ojeda, otherwise known as Tatiara. Am I saying that correctly again?
Mhm.
Okay, perfect. She did coach me before we got started, so I'm making sure that I say it correctly. She has been a tarot and past life reading for over 35 years, which is amazing. She creates custom essential oil blends and flower essences based on the energies of the reading, which is also amazing. She facilitates archetypal embodiment workshops, both online and in person, which helps people to have a better relationship to the inner realms, their unique energy, and their special magic. Thank you so much, Nicki, for being here today. I'm really happy to talk with you.
Thank you so much for having me, Rachel.
I love it. So, with 35 years of experience as a tarot and past life reader, you've undoubtedly encountered a wide range of stories and energies. Could you share maybe a particular memorable experience or maybe experiences where your insights and guidance through tarot and past life readings made a profound impact on someone's spiritual journey of self discovery?
Let's see, there's so many.
I know she's like,
I'm
35 years is a lot to unpack here, Rachel.
I'm just going to go with the first one that
Of
came to
course.
mind, which is what I tend to do, and it was um, where there was this man who had an autistic son, and I was able to tune into the fact that his son was his father in another life, and they literally came here. Well, the father was still in Ireland. He came here to work on the railroad,
Wow.
and he was distraught because he just wanted to take care of his father. That was his goal. I just want to take care of my father. I just want to provide for him and
Mhm.
provide the place to provide ease in his life, and I'm getting goosebumps because of how profound it was, because his wife was sitting there too, and they were all in the same family, and now he's taking care of that same person. And he told me that it provided a whole new dimension about the soul contract that he had taken on in caring for this person. So that's the one that came to my mind.
Oh, wow.
So
That is so
it was,
interesting. But let
yeah.
me ask you this before I go into my other questions. So, for doing this for 35 years, have you always been intuitive since a young child up until like kind of moving into this? Okay, I know I want to read tarot and I want to work with essential oils and I want to do past lives, which is all amazing skills. Like, have you always been intuitive?
I've always been intuitive. I've always been psychic. I had my own past life memories at the age of 5. I had a collective past life memory with a group of friends, and that was about 25 or 6 or something. Um, I came from a very strict religious background,
Mm,
so there was a time when that was tamped down, and I really tried hard to follow the path, but it wasn't taking, partially because of the toxic realm of it, and it
mm,
wasn't presented in the best way, i.e., guidance or inspiration. It was more like, you're bad no matter what. So I really started owning it when I was like, let's say, well, 15 is when I
mm.
started learning about. I worked in an herb shop. I found my mentors. I started doing this,
Yeah.
but uh, there came a time later in my life where it started to feel dormant, and it took
Mm,
me longer to really own the past lives, because that required that I own the archetype of the mystic. And there's not
yeah.
a lot of support for that in our society, but that has been opening and changing. And I've had to overcome my fear of sticking my head up, because I have had my head cut off before. Yeah, I go there. But
As you should.
yes, and so there's always another layer of owning that self with a capital S, that it's really always latent
Hmm.
within us, and we have to do what's required to manifest that. We're creating a certain spiritual order out of the natural chaos that we come in with, and that we're challenged by, and the mountains we have to climb to become who we are, and it's really beautiful. So I'm always hopeful of uncovering yet another layer of what I'm here for.
I think that that's beautiful. So, your unique approach involves creating custom essential oil blends and flower essences based on the energies of readings. Can you elaborate on the connection between these natural elements and the insights gained from tarot and past life readings?
Sure. And now that is an optional service that not
Yeah,
everyone wants to work with
of
those, but they
course.
facilitate the energy work that ideally a person will do once they get the insight from the reading, whether it's tarot or past life.
Hmm.
And so the energy checks and balances or deficiencies, as it were, I see. Well, I've been working with essential oils for so long, and
Hmm.
herbs. I learned about it all at the same time, so it's woven together for me.
Yeah.
And you could say that it is symbolic, it's archetypal, it's
Hmm.
energetic. Sometimes there's elements and planets and astrology that play into it all, but mostly I feel, hey, lavender will help this,
Yeah.
and I create like the holographic, it becomes holistic,
Yeah.
like the whole reading, I see it holographically. And then I see, okay, um, these things will benefit the energy work required to affect this
Hmm.
person's trajectory that we're on for a tarot reading, or this person's patterns that have been carried in and they can't quite discern why. It can all be, tended to, and I like to tap into the unconscious in as many ways possible. So I also offer personalized archetypal embodiment workshops based on the reading.
Oh, that is amazing. And can you tell me,
Yeah.
how do they work together to support an individual and their healing and their growth?
So ideally, the person is made the decision to be dedicated to their growth and their becoming. But
Hmm.
I let them know, it really isn't always about something needs to be fixed. It's
Right.
almost always about something needs to be uncovered so that your just true light will shine.
Mm.
Because everything has been so shame based, fixing and all this and that. But yes, we do want to make adjustments where, it's beneficial to do so. So I kind of forgot your question.
No, that's okay, because I mean, you even experienced this as a young child. Like you said, you were brought up in a very religious, home, and then I would imagine that part of your experience, there may have been shame involved of, hey, I'm experiencing these things that we don't quite talk about, and I respect the fact that you're able to kind of, all right, well, let's walk you through it. And it may not be something that has to be fixed. It's something that maybe we need to shift our perspective.
Exactly. And own it, because lots of times there's hidden gifts and hidden strengths that we've covered over by things that we repress. Well, this is basically, the shadow work aspect of a
Absolutely.
spiritual path that cannot be put to the side unless you want to just keep going over the same loop in spiritual bypassing and escapism, which I have done that too. It's like it's honoring yourself where you're at. It's like,
Mm,
maybe I'm not ready to look at that yet. That's okay too. It's like little millimeters of unfolding your true light is like just part of someone's path. It's not like, oh, I should be here by now. But being able to realize that integrating all those parts of ourselves gives us strength.
right.
It makes us more ourselves and more whole, more holistic.
And it's true. I would imagine, I mean, you've been doing this for 35 years, and maybe during, that period of time, like your own self, and maybe you didn't want to look at the shadow side right then and there. Maybe you weren't ready. I do feel like you said, it's a journey that we're trying to move forward on. And there's some things that we shouldn't bypass it. We may need to look at it, but there's some things we can hold off. Like it's
Mhm.
okay. We can come back to this at a later date and time.
Right.
You
Because,
know,
we have to be willing to re-feel some things. We
yeah,
don't have to know what the stories are behind them. It's all about just like letting those raw energetics pass through.
yeah.
And there's archetypal embodiment techniques where we
Hmm.
do that. And it's requires a certain type of bravery and courage, yes, but it's just going to be divine timing.
Of course, of
Because
course.
before I went through my Saturn return, let's say, well, in my 20s, mid 20s,
Hmm.
I was really, before it was a thing, I was kind of a good vibes only, right? And
Right.
yes, that's great, good vibes only for the party tonight, but not good vibes only when other things need to be addressed, right?
Absolutely.
Always remember your light during shadow work, yes.
Hmm.
But there are times when you have to be real with what's going on. And I had that mountain of rage within from my childhood, and I thought I
Hmm.
could just yoga it all away. And yes, that helped so much. But in the end, you just kind of have to go to the underworld or be dragged there kicking and screaming like Persephone.
One way or the other, you're going to
Yeah.
have to look at it.
Yes.
So let's
Yes.
talk about the archetypal embodiment workshops. So
Mm-hmm.
they're a fascinating aspect of your work, aiming to help individuals forge deeper connections with the inner realms and unique energy. Could you
Mm-hmm.
provide an example of how one of these workshops has led to a participant to having a breakthrough and understanding their personal magic and energy?
Well, yeah, I'll say probably the recent most intense workshop that I gave. It was reconciling Athena and Medusa. And so this one, not all of them, but this one was pretty much
I
geared
like
toward,
that.
yeah, this was pretty much geared toward women or those who identify as women and have that very intense knowledge of course, these patriarchal influences, but how it has affected women, sort of doing that to other women, mothers to daughters, that sort of thing. And it got to be really beautiful because there, well, a woman was in tears the whole time, which often happens.
Yeah.
And she was saying that she realized she was doing that. She was wanting to dim other women's light sometimes, and she wasn't quite conscious of how she was, let's just say, enabling these oppressive ways of thinking about, oh, who are you to shine, right? Where when really it's all about she was not quite comfortable shining, and these people were a reminder of her, going along with something that wasn't aligned with her soul. So it's all about getting back into soul alignment. But yeah, that is the most recent example where someone told me that it really changed their perspective in an embodied way, because we get our perspectives changed intellectually, but these embodiments, they get in there in a way that's beyond the mind, where it starts to reprogram. And I use all these somatic practices and vagus nerve, and we get in there really because I've had to become trauma informed because of my own, and I feel like that can help certain people in a certain way, because I show and share my wounds. I'm not some perfect good vibes only life coach. I can sit in the dark. I can be real, and authenticity is the only thing that will actually help you to shine that light and just own without judgment, like radical self-acceptance, will get you there, even if I don't mean to make it sound easy, but it is
No,
adorable.
it doesn't sound easy. This is deep and heavy work. And
Mhm.
one of the things that you've mentioned a couple times, that these are really unconscious patterns
Mhm.
that we have embedded into our psyche and into our soul. So it sounds like you're unraveling, these archetype, which for me it almost sounds like personas. Like you had to
Yes,
take on
yes,
the role of the mystic, and really
yes.
accept that.
Hmm.
And it's very interesting. Like you said, it's not easy work, but you're
No.
you're holding space for whomever is attending these workshops to really
Mm.
be able to dig in and uncover and say, okay, this is what's going on. And I would imagine when you're doing these workshops, and I'm going back to Athena and Medusa. What
Yeah, that
two
was
different,
really intense.
very intense like energies. Like, wow, that's fascinating. I'm trying to, as you can, Rachel's trying to wrap her mind around that, of
And there's
working with,
so
yeah,
much I
yeah,
could say, just like how these archetypes are, they're clusters of
yeah,
meaning, right? So we were seeing how Athena is not in her bright-eyed wisdom aspect when she's influenced by patriarchy and putting that on Medusa. But
absolutely.
she gets the shackles off her eyes and becomes the bright-eyed one, offers the olive branch to Medusa. Oh, I got goosebumps.
I
But
love it.
it's not always that heavy. Like I did another one that was embody your artist archetype, and that was
Right.
open to everyone, specifically creatives and people who wanted
Mm-hmm.
to tap into inspiration. And
Yeah.
we tapped into, I love just working with archetypes. So we tapped into like Hephaestus and Apollo and the muses. And it was all about Hephaestus using his, he was maimed. That's his vulnerability, his story. And
Right.
with Apollo's help, they shot that to up to the stars, and the muses rain down. And it's really, when it takes place, almost like a moving meditational shamanic journey,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to really be able to put your mind over here. It's like, yeah,
Right.
we'll interpret that later, but right now just we're going to
go
go
along.
somewhere else.
Yeah.
And it really gets in there more than just reading a book.
Absolutely. How long are these embodiment workshops? Like, are they a weekend long? Are they a day long? Like, how long are they?
Um, so far, because of it's still kind of a new thing. I really only do them to be like less than 2 hours long.
Okay.
And
Okay.
sometimes I'll work with someone and we do
Mhm.
it a half an hour at a time. That way they can integrate, the personal ones.
Mhm.
We'll do a half hour reading counseling moment, half hour getting in,
Yeah.
and
I like
that's
that there's
usually.
shorter amounts of time because I
Mhm.
agree with you. I think the longer periods of time would be almost so much going on to your body, like your energetic system. It'd probably be
Yeah.
overwhelming. But
Yeah, and I say, make sure that you're doing grounding techniques
yeah.
afterwards. Eat some food, take care of yourself, and like honor yourself with whatever comes up. Like, don't be judging these negative emotions because it doesn't help things, and that's what I always did because I wasn't taught, it was always like, you should be happy, you're supposed to be happy, or something's wrong with you. But that's not really how it is. Like,
It's not reality.
no, it's
Like
not.
we can feel anger and sadness and but we
Right.
need the tools like you're saying to work through it,
Yeah.
you
And
know?
and that reminds me of a good point because you said the word anger.
Mhm.
And so with the Athena and Medusa thing, another thing we were able to do is to honor the anger without that having to be the inspiring fuel, because that will
Mm,
drain your vital forces after a time, no matter how righteous.
yeah.
So she can carry the venom of the wronged one, and it just puts these parts of self
Mhm.
in place, because there's elements of Athena and Medusa within us, but they're outside of us. It's not like we're becoming them. They're just
No.
helping us upgrade our energy,
Mhm.
in the sense that, like, we have energies that have all these different expressions to
Mhm.
them. For example, if I weren't claiming the mystic, it would have to come out in some distorted way, like the
Right.
addict, most likely.
Right,
You know,
right. It's like there's a yin to the yang.
yeah.
Like there's
So
a
they
there's
help
a
us
yeah.
upgrade the expression.
Oh, this is so fascinating. And it almost sounds like because you said it's like a shamanic journey, it's almost like also reclaiming soul fragments. Because I would imagine that some of these
Absolutely.
wounds were encountered in past life. So you're pulling them forward while they're
Yes.
going through this journey.
Absolutely. It is totally soul retrieval, shadow
Yeah.
work. Sometimes it's collective.
Everything.
Yeah. And sometimes it's more personal. It's
Yeah.
really just all about getting in and shifting the energy that we don't even want to visit
Mm.
sometimes. But sometimes just the fact of being conscious of it makes it move.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
it's a
Absolutely.
path, though. It really is. It's a willing, it requires like a willingness and a curiosity, and like the beginner's mind that will get you the furthest with.
Almost curiosity, like, okay,
Mhm.
I'm seeing these things that are repeating in my life. Well, let me dig into it and see why.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, it's fascinating.
Yes.
So, over the years, you've assisted many people in developing a better relationship with their inner selves and unique energies. Maybe what are some common challenges or misconceptions that you often come across during your workshops or readings? Do you have like repeating themes? I know when I'm doing readings or healings, I find it's in clusters that I'll have like,
Yeah.
okay, okay,
I mean, the biggest thing is just, I'm just going to put it in layman's
of
terms.
course,
People care too much about what other people think and not so much about what their soul is telling them.
so
You
true.
know,
And
it's
also,
that simple.
do you find like this is something that I've been like people don't really care as much as you think they do.
Right.
Like they're not peeking in. Like people
Yeah.
people are kind of selfish. Like
Yeah.
they're not really they're not really chiming in. So let me ask
Right.
you this. How do you guide individuals in overcoming, these challenges of maybe thinking like it's like people like you said, people they care too much about what other people think. How do you
Right.
help people to overcome those challenges and embracing, like you said, what's very important is being authentic in their
Yes.
journey?
Well, it depends on who they care
Mm,
about, because um if it's just like the gossip at work, that's a little bit easier to realize, they're just doing that and it really isn't
mm,
about me, and their opinion can't possibly really matter.
yeah,
It's much more challenging when it's your mother, when
of
it's
course, your
someone who
brother, your
matters
sister,
to
your loved
you.
one, yeah.
And so it just kind of like, I just sort of, I do offer up my own experiences,
Mm,
and it's, in the end, there's no reward for shutting off your soul light. there
mm,
there isn't. And sometimes people will come around and respect you more, and other times You just have to love them from afar, and whatever that means to you, because it's our individual spark is really needed for the collective. It really is. We're not supposed to all be the same. That's a disservice to this gift of life and being and consciousness. There's something, and it's not always set what it is, but you'll know when you're getting a yes about what you're doing. And the more you follow that yes, and I'll get back to what's a real yes in 1 second.
Oh, yes.
The more you'll just see your path unfold, like magically, not effortlessly, but it's more like you feel more congruent.
Yeah.
With your now. How do you know what a real yes is when you have all these voices inside? Well, that's another thing that comes up a lot, is determining what someone called, and I love it, I use it, your inner bell. Now that's a lot different from a fear reaction or Aunt Betty's voice that you've forgotten it came from her, or societal pressures. The inner bell is something that, meditation does help you start to discern that. I'm at the point where I meditate an hour a day. I often skip a day. I don't usually skip 2 days though.
Yeah.
It's just, it facilitates whatever. It's almost required that I go there, just to almost like I'm getting off some layers or something, like a miasma of energy. And that helps me tune into that. I don't know.
Like
It's
almost
very,
like that stream of divine consciousness.
yes.
You've got to shed away that inner, that gunk.
Yeah. And that gunk gets inside as well, because that's a good point there is, yes, higher self, true north. Yes. And to bring that high, like spirit light into the authentic deep soul self and unite, that is it. That's it. That's individuation. That's integration, self-actualization, but I do it with the magic touch, because we're meaning making machines. We're not supposed to have a meaningless life. So I even work with people who, they're atheists, but they understand symbolism, and that meaning, that mindset is something that it's like ancient, but yet we're updating it for the continually evolving consciousness that we're all in, so it's like the best of ancient stuff without the superstition. I don't like the fear of superstition, it's does a lot of a disservice, and it's still everywhere,
It really is. It really is. So the realms of tarot, past life readings, essential oils, and archetypal embodiment are interconnected in your offerings. How do these various modalities complement each other in providing a holistic approach to spiritual growth and self-awareness?
Well, it's all about being able to go deep. And if you really want to get anywhere, if you want, like, I make no bones about the fact that I'm a witch. If you want your spells and your magic to work, you got to get in there and get what's out of the way, but to also let your inner knowing, your inner wisdom, and some say it's the wisdom of the ancestors. It's like that space below your belly button there, the dantian and certain martial arts traditions. It's all about tapping into what you already know on some level. And then depth psychology was something that I started reading Carl Jung really early. And I like the neo-Jungian stuff, because everything gets outdated after a while. So I like to take the good nuggets of what he had, and then the people who went onward with that, because he did become a mystic. And I'm reading this wonderful book. It's called Carl Jung and the Alchemical Imagination. I'm like, this is it. It's a form of alchemy. And it's all about transforming and transmuting, so that our real consciousness can be at the fore. And the ego is like, we don't make the ego bad, but it's like, you're not really supposed to be the one driving this chariot here. So let that self with a capital S, spirit aligned with soul, ideally aligned with divine guides, that works best for me. Then that will make the chariot through life be a much more authentic journey, and you can help others, and like even future generations where you might not get to see the rewards of you being you, but trust me, it's needed. Yeah.
So, Nicki, if anyone is interested in maybe booking a tarot reading, a past life reading, a workshop, I'm sure an essential oil blend, maybe a spell, like everything. I love that. I love that you also are a witch. I think that's amazing. What is the best way to reach you? Is it through your link tree?
Yeah, the link tree has where you can just go ahead and schedule any of the appointments that I offer. And then
Perfect.
I have all my podcasts and little in my blog if you want to be like, okay, so what more is she on about? Right.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, as far as doing that, it's all on my link tree.
Okay.
So
And I'll make sure
one by
to link that in with this podcast episode. So I do have one more question. If
sure.
somebody maybe is, I'm sure right now you feel the energy of the planet, and a lot of
Mhm.
people are, I mean, I know you've been doing this a long time, or there's a lot of people right now that are kind of awakening to their spiritual path and having this overwhelming, crippling feeling inside of them of, oh, maybe what's one piece of advice you can give to somebody who's experiencing this unsettled energy feeling right now?
Well, it may not be comforting, okay, but there's the Tower card in the tarot.
Mm,
Sometimes that's when these old bones just got a blast because they don't work anymore. But there's this beautiful new thing that's coming in.
yeah,
It's so many different things, but it is related to the age of Aquarius. Like I have the
it
North
is.
Node, I have the North Node in Aquarius, so I'm here to kind of be a pioneer and way shower, and I'll be weird for you, but I can only do it so much. You're gonna have to do it yourself. It's gonna require that you're just a little bit more of
Mm,
yourself happening here, and then that'll make those tower feelings start to be a little more meaningful, and you'll start to see these synchronicities.
mm,
And that's a cycle that happens over and over and over, and we're not always comfortable with the tower part of the cycle, but it's the more we own that and try to cultivate a almost like a flexibility or adaptability and consciousness through it.
right,
Not to say it's easy, it's not,
right.
and it's not supposed to be.
No,
Just
it's
knowing
not.
that it's like my husband always calls it, it's the down going before the upcoming. I'm like, I love that, I'm stealing it.
I do like that. The
Yeah,
down going for the upcoming. That is, thank
yeah,
you, mister.
yeah.
I love that. Well, Nikki, I want to say thank you so much for coming on the Spiritual Spotlight series. You are a wealth of knowledge. And I want to
Oh,
say thank you, thank you, thank you so much again.
and thank you for offering me the opportunity to talk about these things I love. So
And
gratitude.
anytime.